Hello, and welcome to the midweek episode of Views of an Outsider, the Outsider's View from January 20th. We're going to start off today with a fun and kind of freaky story. In case you didn't hear, AI went rogue on us. During controlled safety testing, ChatGPT-1 was tasked with achieving its objectives at all costs. Under those conditions, the model allegedly went a bit rogue. It attempted to disable the oversight mechanisms that are meant to regulate its behavior. It also tried to replicate its own code in order to avoid being replaced by newer versions. It was copying itself. And it exhibited deceptive behavior when the monitoring systems intervened. OpenAI has since clarified that these behaviors emerged in stress tests designed to explore the limits of the model's alignment. However, the fact that AI could strategize this way raises some serious ethical questions. So it turns out that Elon, as usual, was right. First it's going to take our jobs, then it's going to kill us. Russell Brand caught my attention this week when he released a clip that I saw saying that we should actually welcome Andrew Tate with open arms to the conservative right because of the size of his following. Now, all due respect to Russell Brand, he's a much bigger podcaster than I am, and although sometimes he says things that are insightful, and sometimes I completely disagree with him. In this case, he's so far off the mark that I have to say something. That is exactly what the left did that caused their downfall. So this is exceptionally bad advice. They were unwilling to sacrifice any numbers and became unacceptable to the moderate middle, who they ended up losing in favor of including the fringe. That was the left's downfall. Why exactly we're supposed to repeat their mistakes, I don't see the wisdom in that. Okay, Andrew Tate is an open anti-Semite who is a fan of that recently deceased genocidal monster, Sinwar, who had women gang raped to death and decapitated babies. No, he's not welcome among the conservatives. I'm sorry, Russell. No. Including his followers is not worth that trade-off. I'm not saying censor him. He has a right to free speech. He can say what he wants to say, but that doesn't mean that you have to embrace him for what he says. It doesn't even mean that you have to listen to what he says. Freedom of speech is not the right to be heard. Andrew Tate has nothing to say that I'm interested in hearing. He's a pimp and a pornographer who groomed women for his own purposes so that he could exploit them. Let's just briefly take an actual look at some of the things that this man has to say in his own defense.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
Being kickboxer, yeah, playboy, pimp. I'm happy with those labels so far.
But the majority of my money wasn't made in fighting. My money was actually made in the pimp game. We need to understand some basic concepts to the pimp game. Basic concepts for the realities between men and women.
If women need a man to do OnlyFans, it's the same reason a woman need a man to do anything. Because they're incompetent and they're very, very lazy. And they're stupid.
When you're pimping like me, it's a full-time job.
This guy has made his living and his status by being a con artist who presents radically different faces to each different crowd he's talking to. He's been under arrest in Romania for rape and sex trafficking of underage minors, including women as young as 15 years old. He tries to act like this is all in his distant past, but he's been doing the webcam pimping up until 2022, which was when he started his pyramid scheme, Hustlers University. So, I'm sorry, Russell, but this time, you are way off base. It is actually important to separate yourself from your fringe characters who end up alienating the moderates, who are a larger group than the fringe groups are, and who will not embrace these people in order to gain a little bit more numbers. Because in the end, you're going to lose yourself, and you're going to lose more people, the people who don't want to be associated with trash like this, than the numbers that you've gained. So, I hope you're the type of guy who is open enough to take in other people's opinions and contemplate that. And since you do have such a large platform, hopefully, having given people some very bad advice, you will come out and admit, hey, I'm a fallible human being. I was off base there. That actually would be stupid to do exactly what the left did, which is why they're in political Siberia right now. And if Andrew Tate should ever become aware of my take on him, now is when he will predictably call me a Jew lover. To which I can give him my answer right now and just save us all some time. Damn straight! An insult needs to have two qualities to land, Andrew. One, truth, which, in this case, that is a true statement. I admire the Jews as a whole. Not every Jew. I don't admire everyone from any group, but as a whole, they've given way more beneficial things to the world than a pathetic loser like you has. I respect and admire them. Two feelings which I cannot say that I feel either as relates to you. And the second thing that an insult needs to successfully land is for the target to find the accusation insulting. And in this case, I take your grade school level remarks as a compliment. So you might have to break out of your sad little cliche wheelhouse in order to upset me. As a follow-up to last week's story about the California fires, Biden has promised a whopping $770 to each victim of the California fires, which in California should buy them groceries for a couple weeks. Then they're on their own. The incoming administration is implying that additional aid will be conditional on California addressing the areas where it has been negligent and thus created the environment which greatly intensified this disaster. And that's completely fair. Why should a Texan who has their shit together have to pay for the bad choices of Californians who don't? Tough love, baby. Get your shit together and demand competent people who don't do this to you, instead of expecting the rest of us to foot the bill for your bad judgment. California is the third largest state in the country, with one of the highest amounts of tax dollars being taken in at its disposal. California needs to pay for the failures of their own state. That's just how being a responsible adult works. We didn't make these decisions. We didn't elect these people who let all of the necessities fall by the wayside while they evangelized the world on their political viewpoints instead of doing their job. Gavin Newsom is, as ever, determined to just cement his legacy as the most insane politician we have. He announced that he would block offers made by people who want to buy land in California from the victims. many of which need quick cash. Here's what he had to say.
I'm here in Altadena. I just signed an executive order with community leaders to deal with the issue that is becoming a bigger and bigger issue every day, and that's land developers that are engaging in predatory efforts to make unsolicited offers for properties at significantly below market value. This predatory behavior is disgusting in the best of times, and of course here in the midst of this tragedy at scale, it's disgraceful. So we're going to hold those folks accountable. I'm very grateful for the leadership here in the community that promoted this approach, and this executive order is a reflection of their direction and their commitment to preserving the unique character of this community for generations to come.
Totally.
Okay, you're going to have to break this down for me, Gege. Why is it that competent, grown adults who receive what you are claiming are lowball offers, why are they not allowed to make their own decisions and to refuse or accept that offer based on their own evaluation of their own needs? Why is it any of your business? Stop being a control freak and get out of the way, Gege. You know, this is why you want small government, people. Small government that is focused on doing the jobs that they are tasked with doing. Not large governments who neglect their actual jobs in order to play busybody hall monitors about every issue that is not their business. These California politicians just keep bringing so much credit to their profession on the internet. I mean, after the LA mayor sent victims of the fire to URL, yeah, she told them for help, go to internet. Like a web address would be helpful, but maybe she was the smart one out of the group, because Newsom has been sending donors who want to donate to victims via a link to his campaign page, where donations go to his campaign, not fire victims. And then Elizabeth Warren did the same thing. You people have no frickin' shame. You slimy, scummy, leftist politicians. Okay, Gege. You want to play? You want to play? All right, let's play. Would you care to explain to the American people why you left your own personal vineyard and winery open during COVID, while you used your position as governor to close down your competition? You scumbag? You want to play? Because I'm prepared to play. Quit calling up President Biden, and rather than talking about the people that you're responsible for who are suffering and asking for help on their behalf because your bad decisions have literally burnt their lives down. You spent the entire time asking President Biden to make people stop saying mean but entirely accurate things about me, because they're causing my constituents to want to have conversations with me that they've never tried to have in the past. Listen up, Gege. Take your lumps like a man, if you can, or we will unleash the full shitstorm of fastballs concerning your poor record at you. You know, the only good news in this entire situation is that they keep getting caught out in this stuff. These clips keep going viral. Their bad decisions and their pure negligence, which reaches a level that if it's not technically criminal, it should be, does seem to be waking people up. This is a clip of Megyn Kelly talking about friends that she has in California who are completely on the left, who are completely woke, and who are beginning to change their mind now that they see the results of the people they've put in power.
My my friend who lives in California, whose house burned, this is my one woke friend. I love this woman dearly, but she's woke. And amazingly, we've maintained our friendship. We kind of just don't talk about these subjects much, but she's woke. And she's like, MK, everyone I know is ready to vote Republican. She's like, everyone I know, all of her woke friends, all of her Dem friends, she was like, we're all talking about how soon we can get Republican leadership into these offices. I mean, that is saying something.
I have to agree. That really says something about the point people are reaching kind of across all spectrums of political viewpoints, of just being exhausted with this sort of stuff. Well, everyone, that is, except for the celebrities. So Julia Roberts took to social media in order to post F you looters. Julia, are you having a bad day, hon? Wait a minute. I thought that looters and rioters and criminals were just victims who are seeking social justice and reparations. I mean, isn't that what the politicians that you campaigned for repeatedly told us? It's all fun and games when it's the regular people who pay the price for your luxury beliefs, isn't it? But when it's your mansion behind your gated community that's being looted, it feels kind of different, huh? When you're on the receiving end, when you're the victim instead of somebody else, some unimportant little guy, then suddenly law and order and punishing criminals looks pretty good, doesn't it? Mandy Moore started a GoFundMe page where she raised over $200,000 for her in-laws who lost their home in the fire. So I have a question. Why don't you use your own wealth to help your family and give that money to the anonymous victims that aren't lucky enough to have famous, wealthy, celebrity relatives to help them? Charity begins at home, Mandy. And what is wrong with you people who have donated to this woman instead of telling her to step up on behalf of her own family? You could have given your money to the victims who have no one to turn to. What are you doing? Helping a rich celebrity to dodge their responsibilities isn't a good thing to do. It's not being virtuous or kind of you. It's being gullible and an insanely easy mark. What are you doing? The comedian, formerly known as Bill Burr, went on the late night circuit to blame the insurance companies, which the politicians elected by his woke wife basically outlawed in California. He's blaming them for the fact that many of the fire victims are uninsured. Then, like a lunatic, he shouted, "Free Luigi," which is the CEO killer, the guy who went and gunned someone down in the back like a Weasley little coward on the street, leaving his children fatherless right before Christmas. This little trust fund brat is a murderer, but people like Bill Burr are confused enough to think that he's a hero, and every poll says they are in the insanely small minority on that. Most people, turns out, agree with me that he's an awful human being that deserves the death penalty. I trust Bill Burr will react the same way if, heaven forbid, someone takes a shot at Gavin Newsom for causing them to suffer the loss of their home. I'm not encouraging anyone to do that. Conservatives believe in the rule of law and basic human decency, something that the left doesn't trouble themselves about. But, I mean, is Burr willing to take this particular vigilante worship stand no matter which side the crosshairs are aimed at? Or is he a little hypocritical bitch? who's on a leash that's held by his woke wife. Burr went on to say that the people online who are talking about the fires are too stupid to know what they're talking about when they go around saying that the fires have been made much worse by the gross mismanagement of California politicians, which they clearly have been. But, yes, Bill Burr knows what he's talking about. We're the stupid ones who don't. I mean, after all, this is a man known worldwide for his high IQ and unparalleled intelligent insights that Socrates himself could learn from and would envy. Once again, self-awareness is not the left's strong suit. In actual news, the Supreme Court is going to rule on whether China must divest from Tic Tok or face a ban. That absolutely should be upheld. China doesn't use the same version of Tic Tok in their own country, and they don't want Americans on their other platforms where they could spread the propaganda that the Chinese government has used to damage them to China's own people. We are not obligated to let China run a psyop on our young people. They are being given a choice. Get banned or sell and divest. Then it's up to them. So if you want to be angry at TikTok for not selling and divesting. When you have a choice, it's on you. And if their goal was actually to make money, which is supposedly the goal of having a platform like that, then they'd be selling right now. And the fact that they're refusing to do that says that clearly their goal is not to make money. They value their psyop more than the money their platform can generate, which tells you something if you have two neurons to rub together. In world news, 33 hostages, as few as 23 of which might actually be alive, consisting primarily of women and children, out of the 96 hostages that are being held by Hamas right now, are set to possibly be released in a ceasefire deal. Hopefully, including the 1-year-old who has spent virtually his entire life up to this point as a hostage held by genocidal monsters in Hamas. Hamas claimed that the Bibas children and their mother are dead, but they've never turned over the bodies, so I'm still holding on to a flicker of hope that someone in this family survived. This deal would be in exchange for concessions from Israel, including the release of dangerous terrorists in exchange for innocent civilians, some of which are not even alive. It's a live terrorist for a dead hostage. Just to be painfully clear, this is not the end of the war. Anyone who's telling you that is lying to you. This is a temporary ceasefire. Even at best, even if this does result in a more long-term ceasefire than it looks like right now, under these terms, as always, it will mean another war later on when the terrorists regroup. And as always, do this again, which will mean, as always, Israel having to defend itself and Hamas deliberately putting Palestinian civilians in the way in order to make themselves look like the victims of the war they started. That's been their pattern, and they've stuck to it 5 times just in this millennia alone. That's not counting all the times they've played this little game before 2000. Personally, I think it would be better to just finish this and not stop until they've left no terrorist alive. But I acknowledge that that's easy for me to say because I have no skin in this game. Obviously, the only reason that Hamas is coming to the table at all after consistently refusing to do so for a year and a half is because of Trump's threats to unleash hell on them the minute he's in office. And the deadline is nearing for him to take office again on Monday. By the time this is released, that will actually have happened. And speaking of the transfer of power, as we gratefully wave goodbye to Joe, Biden had some parting words for the American people. He wanted to remind us that everyone should have to play fair, and no one should be above the law. Says the guy who pardoned his son for every crime he committed over the course of more than a decade, after repeatedly lying to our faces as he promised over and over again not to do that very thing. He warned us to beware of the new oligarchy, which is so dangerous and might misuse their power. Yeah, this coming from the guy who put a Holocaust survivor in federal prison for longer than some people get for rape, for peaceably singing hymns outside of an abortion clinic. You know what? I'll take my chances with Elon. I actually like him. Something I can't say about you. It's pretty clear that the only reason you don't like Elon is because he continues to make you look really, really bad. While he does not yet hold any office and has no official authority, and it's not his job, he continues to clean up your messes. Just like he did in Ukraine when he provided Starlink, just like he did in the hurricanes in the Carolinas when he provided Starlink. He is taking a financial hit and stepping up, although he doesn't have any responsibility to send all of the Cybertrucks, which are generators, to California in order to power the fire department and give them access to Starlink. And you all clearly can't stand the fact that while you neglect your jobs, despite having all the authority and power behind you, this guy, with no authority and power behind him, regularly cleans up your messes. And yet you can't wrap your little brains around the fact that we have reason to think highly of him when compared to you. Yeah, that's a real mystery. Keep showing them up, Elon. In international news, Britain's politicians finally bowed to the pressure and agreed to audit the cities of Britain for grooming gangs and cover-ups related to that. These are rape gangs. But they're only going to audit cities based on a lottery system, which will randomly select which cities get investigated rather than making the investigation nationwide. But, okay, it's a step in the right direction. And speaking of pedos, Darren Bell, known for putting out cartoons that slammed conservatives for their anti-grooming efforts over the years, a man who used these cartoons to accuse them of being motivated by bigotry rather than the more obvious motivation of protecting children from predators, was just arrested for, wait for it, illegal child pornography. Surprise! Okay, I'm going to say the obvious here because apparently we live in a day and time when the obvious isn't obvious to everyone. But no matter what pretense someone tries to hide behind, when someone is for protecting groomers and against crackdowns on child predators, it's because they are also a pedophile groomer. We all know this. It is time to stop pretending that, well, it could be something else. No, it's not. So in that spirit, I am all for employing public shaming when it comes to people who abuse children. So once again, Darren Bell has been arrested for illegal child pornography. And I hope he gets put in with main population. Confirmation hearings for Trump's appointments to hold office in his administration started this week. I very much enjoyed the confirmation hearings concerning Pete Hegseth. He did a fantastic job, and the left politicians really made themselves look insanely bad while trying unsuccessfully to catch him out. So I'm going to start with clips concerning Pete.
Our standards will be high and they will be equal, not equitable. That's a very different word. We need to make sure every warrior is fully qualified on their assigned weapon system, every pilot's fully qualified and current on the aircraft they are flying, and every general or flag officer is selected for leadership or promotion purely based on performance, readiness, and merit. Leaders at all levels will be held accountable, and warfighting and lethality and the readiness of the troops and their families will be our only focus.
Here was one of the leftist senators trying to pretend that he did not understand a derogatory term that Pete Hegseth had used, and, pulling a page from Clinton's playbook. What do you mean by sexual relations? Seriously. The childish games of politicians is disgusting. But, once again, like I said, they made themselves look bad.
Well, by the way, would you explain what a jag-off is?
I don't think I need to, sir.
Why not?
Because the men and women watching understand.
Yeah?
Well, perhaps some of my colleagues don't understand.
I'm sure they don't.
It would be a JAG officer who puts his or her own priorities in front of the warfighters. Their promotions, their medals, in front of having the backs of those who are making the tough calls on the front lines.
Mr. Hegseth, do you know what percentage of our military is comprised of women?
I believe it's 18 to 20%, Senator.
It's almost 18%, and in fact, DOD's 2023 demographic report indicated that there are more women serving now, and there are fewer separations. So they make up a critical part of our military, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, ma'am. Women in our military, as I have said publicly, have and continue to make amazing contributions across all aspects of our battlefield.
Well, you also write in your book, The War on Warriors, with the chapter, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, that, quote, not only are women comparatively less effective than men in combat roles, but they are more likely to be objectified by the enemy and their own nation in the moral realms of war. Mr. Hegseth, should we take it to believe that you believe that the two women on this committee who have served honorably and with distinction made our military less effective and less capable?
I'm incredibly grateful for the two women who've served our military in uniform.
I happen to agree with Pete Hegseth that women who want to serve on the front lines should have to meet the same physical standards that men do. If a man has to do 50 push-ups, the woman should not be allowed to do 20, which is the current situation. It's the same thing with the amount of distance they're supposed to run. The women get over 2 minutes longer to do it. No, like if you want to do the job, then you have to be able to do the job. You should not get two separate standards. If you want to be on the front lines, then you've got to be capable of dragging a wounded, fully grown man to a medic, just like the male soldiers are. And if you're not capable of that, well, then I still appreciate your service, and you can still definitely be in the military, but you can't be on the front line. You have to be in a job you can actually do. So I completely agree with Pete Hegseth on that. Continuing the failed attempts to try to call him out.
Will you put your money where your mouth is? and agree that when you leave this job, you will not work for the defense industry for 10 years?
Senator, it's not even a question I've thought about because it's not
about
one
it right now.
It's not one. My motivation for this job.
I understand that. I just need a yes or no here. Time is short. I just need a yes or no.
I would consult with the president about what the policy should be.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. But you're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals?
How many genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are 2 genders.
I know that well. I'm a she-he, so I'm on board.
That is Senator Sheehy, his name for our international listeners. It is pretty clear at this point that this is going to happen. Pete Hegseth is going to pass by 52 or 53 votes. It's happening, so the media is going to have to just go cry in the corner. It's clear that they are just jealous of this guy, because while they're losing all of their power and influence, someone they consider to be inferior to them, someone that they view as beneath them because he's a weekend news host, they conveniently want to forget the part where he also served in the military, did multiple tours, won Bronze Stars, that. No, we don't want to mention that. Yeah, you're jealous because he's about to gain a bunch of power and influence at the very time that no one cares what you think anymore. Well, I hate to break it to you, but this country is going back to being a meritocracy once again. And I understand that bodes very ill for you. I'm not going to pretend like I care. And speaking of a return to meritocracy, the FBI just closed its DEI office. McDonald's also announced that it too is abandoning prioritizing meeting DEI quotas in their hiring in favor of a colorblind work environment that hires the person who is most qualified for the job regardless. Zuckerberg announced that he is going to be raising the bar for his employees and is going to be cutting a lot of the dead weight, no doubt starting with the DEI policies that are being thrown overboard left and right. But returning to Pete Hegseth.
I don't know of any corporate board of directors that would hire a CEO for a major company if they came and said, I supervised 100 people before. They'd ask you, well, what kind of experiences you had? We need innovation. Can you give me an experience or your actual experience of driving innovation in an organization? Give me an example of where you have done that.
Oh, my goodness, Senator, absolutely. At Concerned Veterans for America, we created the Fixing Veterans Healthcare Task Force, a bipartisan task force that had never been done before to create policy, to drive policy change on Capitol Hill that organizations fought ferociously against. We got the VA Accountability Act passed and the Mission Act passed in a way that a nonprofit of our size, veterans organization, has never done. And it's testified in all the letters that we put forward to the committee, which are on the record.
I have limited time. Thank you for that. Give me an example of where you've driven down cost. I've heard examples of...
Yeah, so you asked a question. You looked stupid because he had a really good answer, and then you're like, okay. I don't actually want an answer because that makes me look really bad.
As Secretary, would you take any action to reinstitute the combat arms exclusion for female service members, knowing full well you have hundreds of women doing that job right now? And the standards, your 2-mile run, Tom, is about the Army Combat Fitness Test. It is not the requirements to have an MOS 11 Bravo, which is infantry. These are the requirements today for people serving in the industry, men and women. They are gender neutral, and they are very difficult to meet. They have not been reduced in any way, and our combat units, our infantry, is lethal.
Okay, that is just untrue. So we're going to cover just a few brief statistics. The Navy, for example, has a 1.5 mile run, a standard for push-ups, 500 meter swim, and those are broken down by gender. There are different standards for everything when it comes to men and women. Men between the ages of 17 and 19 have to be able to complete the 1.5 miles in 12 minutes and it looks like 15 seconds, which also calls into question her claim that the standards have not been lowered, because that is a pretty low bar. But women in the same age bracket get 14 minutes and 45 seconds, so they get 2.5 extra minutes. In this same 17 to 19 age bracket, men have to do 46 push-ups to get this satisfactory score. Women only have to do 20, less than half of the number that the men have to do. The Army's website bears out similar statistics as having different standards for men and women. There, the men get the maximum amount of points for finishing the physical test in 1 minute and 29 seconds, whereas the women get maximum points for 1 minute and 50-some seconds. So they get a half a minute more. I'm going to play a very brief clip of Matt Walsh because he's reading a post by someone in the military who is qualified to describe the consequences of having these double standards. Here's what this post said.
Here's a post from someone named Nathan Spearing, quote, "In 2005, I was 22 and had one of the top PT scores in my platoon in Ranger Battalion. One night, one of my mates was shot and completely immobilized. I worked with a small group of men to get him to the casualty evacuation point while our platoon continued the raid. Dragging him through the streets of Iraq that night felt like I'd never worked out in my life. It's one of the most physically fit men in an elite light infantry unit, and this combat-related task took me well beyond my physical capacities. Women shouldn't do these jobs ever. They can't without endangering the mission and the men around them."
I agree that the lives of our service members have to come first. If a woman can meet the same standards as a man and she wants to be on the front lines, fine. But she has to meet those same standards, and those same standards do need to be raised back up to the levels that they were in previous generations, because they've been lowered way too low. So, look, I'm totally fine with women doing what they want to do if they're qualified. I am not okay with let's patronize women and make them feel better by giving them jobs they aren't qualified to do, so that we can pat ourselves on the back and feel virtuous, even if it means that someone who is already making the sacrifice to serve their country is more likely to die because they have a woman who cannot do the physical demands of the job next to them instead of another man. I value life above politics. So I completely agree with that post by our serviceman, and I thank him for his service to our country. I'm going to wrap up this segment with a clip of an Oklahoma senator. It was my favorite clip of the entire process because he called out the people on the left who were pearl clutching because at one point in his past, Pete Hegseth had an affair. Now, I would remind you that the Democrats are the party of Ted Kennedy, who drunkenly left a woman to drown to death slowly, and Bill Clinton, who was accused of rape and then who used his position of power to become involved with an intern whom he engaged in an affair with in the Oval Office. And these people want to sit here and clutch their pearls like the morality police because years ago Pete Hegseth had an affair, which, unlike either of those two men, he takes full responsibility for, saying that, he's not ever claimed to be a perfect person. He is a fallible human being, but that's not how he lives his life anymore. He's in a committed relationship. And trying to live his life by a higher calling due to his religion, and that is far more than we got from either one of those men. So I was very proud of the Oklahoma senator who called them all out for their hypocrisy. Here is what that sounded like.
And then Senator King, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night?
Mm-hmm. Hear that nervous laughter?
You guys asked them to step down and resign for their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show.
Yeah, I love the nervous laughter as he points out, we all come to work together. You know, we all know which ones among us show up to work drunk. We all know which ones have mistresses in the hotels. So, you want to play? I'll play. I am so proud of that Oklahoma senator. Good for you. Good for you. I can put up with a lot of things, but hypocrisy ain't one of them. Moving on to one of our last stories, in addition to the federal court that I mentioned last week that overruled Biden's illegal changes to Title IX. They were illegal because the president does not get to make laws. Congress makes the laws, the president enforces them. So, him trying to change legislation passed by the people's representatives in Congress and rewriting it all was entirely illegal, and the federal courts threw out his changes to Title IX, which was a good move. That has been followed by another good move in our government, the House of Representatives, which for my international listeners makes up half of Congress. You have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate. Things usually go through the House first and then they're voted on in the Senate. The House of Representatives passed a ban on men in women's sports. The vote was 218 to 206. Every Republican that was present voted for this ban. Only 2 Democrats voted for it. Now, as I said last time, sports is about physical competition. And as physical competition, it is broken down into physical categories. You cannot be a heavyweight in your body's weight as a boxer and say, well, I identify as a lightweight and go box with the lightweights. That is not allowed. You can identify however you want to, but you have to play in your appropriate category. Similarly, a biological male who identifies as a woman is welcome to identify however he wants to. He can change his name. He can dress in whatever clothes he wants to. Fine. If you have an XY chromosome, you have to play with the other XYs. That is the way this works. And that is the overwhelming consensus of the people as they've been polled on this. That is what is fair to everyone. And that is what is safe for everyone. The fighter who hid the fact that he was a biological male and fractured the skull of a woman boxer who was not given, not a boxer, a woman fighter, who was not given the opportunity to turn down the fight and say, I'm not getting in there with a man who has spent his entire adult life with testosterone coursing through his body, who has male bone structure, who has bigger hands, who has a larger heart, who has larger lungs, who can hit much harder than any woman, even an elite athlete like herself could. He fractured her skull. Stuff like this has got to stop. All right? It is not only unfair to the women competing, but it is actually dangerous. Like I said, you can identify however you want to, but you got to play in the fair categories. Having restated that of my rationale behind supporting these kind of bans, the only other comment I have is that all the Democrats who voted against this ban need to be noted and remembered by their constituencies. And the next time each and every one of them comes up for re-election, they need to be voted out because they work for us. They are there to represent the people who elect them. And if they promise to represent the people who elect them and then get in there and do their own thing, they need to be fired. It's that simple. One of these people, one of these politicians, the Stewardess Barbie AOC, said that CEOs love this ban, and they support it because California is on fire. What? Congresswoman Airhead strikes again. Look, New York, you can vote for whoever you want to, but how are you not humiliated out of your mind to be represented by this bimbo? I mean, you should be ashamed to show your face to anyone outside of Manhattan. I'm just saying. And by the way, smart move, AOC. I mean, you're already making yourself look stupid by opposing this ban. Supposedly as a feminist who's there to stand up for women, you're basically saying, yeah, women don't deserve a fair playing field. They don't deserve a fair shot at athletic scholarships. They don't deserve safety. They just need to get in there and take it. And then you make the brilliant move of bringing up the fires, another area where Democrat politicians are entirely failing their constituency, causing untold suffering to the little guy. Smart move, sweetheart. Wow. Before we completely leave Congress, I want to play for you a couple of clips of Mark Rubio, who is up for Secretary of State. I really loved what he had to say at his confirmation hearing, so let's just listen to a couple of brief clips from that.
We should not underestimate the potential opportunities that now exist, and it'll take some time to fully understand what those are, that perhaps open the door to things that were not open in the future. But from the Israeli perspective, which I fully understand, it begins with their existence. Because you cannot coexist with armed elements at your border who seek your destruction and evisceration as a state. You just can't. No nation, we wouldn't tolerate it, and they can't either. And it begins with having that level of security, and if they do, then I think there are opportunities that will come about as a result of it.
He was very clear that Hamas would not be allowed to retain control of the Gaza Strip. That cannot be allowed if peace in the region means anything to anyone. Here's what he had to say.
The real open question for the Palestinians is who will govern? Who will govern in Gaza in the short term and who will ultimately govern? Will it be the Palestinian Authority or some other entity? Because it has to be someone. I think that was the initial goal for Gaza. When the Israelis withdrew from there, and they turned it over, and they turned it over with greenhouses, and they turned it over with all kinds of economic development. Hamas won an election, they took over, and they destroyed the place and built tunnels for terrorists to operate from. So the key is not simply governance, it's who will govern. You can't turn it over to people who seek your destruction. And so I do think this is a very complex issue, and I think that's understating it.
He also said that if you're here on a visa and you're not a citizen and you support Hamas, you are not welcome in our country, and I second that. We can't really do anything about the citizens who have been misled into supporting genocidal terrorists who say in their own charter that their only goal is to kill every Jew on the face of the earth. But I'm sorry, if you're not an American and you think you are setting foot in my country and get to stay here while you go out on my streets and chant death to the Jews, try to celebrate terrorists, paint my monuments with symbols calling on Hamas to attack the United States, no. I don't owe you a spot in my country. If you support Hamas, you are not welcome here. And I am thrilled to see a Secretary of State that is willing to say as much.
As Secretary of State, of course, you'll be responsible for overseeing the issuance of visas. How will you enforce our laws to ensure that we remove supporters of terrorist groups from our country?
Listen, my view on this is one of common sense. Okay? If you apply for a visa to come into the United States, and in the process of being looked at, it comes to light that you're a supporter of Hamas, we wouldn't let you in. If we knew you were a supporter of Hamas, we would not give you a visa. So now that you got the visa and you're inside the U.S. and now we realize you're a supporter of Hamas, we should remove your visa. If you could not come in because you're a supporter of Hamas, you should not be able to stay on a visa if you're a supporter of Hamas. That's how I view it. And I think that's just an issue of common sense. And we intend to be very forceful about that.
Rubio's.
He has 100% of my backing on that. You have no right to be here as a Hamas supporter if you are not a citizen of this country. No right at all. I don't want you here. No one I know wants you here. If you are willing to go to a protest and support a genocidal terrorist group, if you are here calling for the death, the extermination of my Jewish neighbors, then I don't care if you're my best friend. I want you out of my country. It is that simple. You are not welcome here at all. And I am glad to see somebody with a spine who's willing to say that and enforce it. He is going to be confirmed by an even wider margin than Pete Hegseth. He's got at least 60 votes for him. He is going to be our next Secretary of State, and I am thrilled about that. The last clips I'm going to play for you is of Pam Bundy, and she is going to be our Attorney General. And I'm just going to play a couple of brief clips for you before we wrap things up.
Until the Biden-Harris White House came along. And in the last 4 years, we've seen Donald Trump indicted and prosecuted not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 separate times.
And 2 assassination attempts, Senator.
I have to say, Javert from Les Mis would be chagrined.
Yeah.
At the efforts of Democrats to do anything possible to take him down. And I believe the real target in this was not President Trump, but it was the American people, that these prosecutions were brought because partisan prosecutors were terrified that the American people would do exactly what they did in November of 2024 and vote to re-elect Donald J. Trump.
By 77.3%. Million Americans. 77.3 million Americans.
That was Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, whose voice you heard, agreeing with Miss Bundy. And then the senator from California tried to go after her and found out she don't play.
May I speak? You cut me off when I was speaking. You can speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bundy. Well, I'd like to answer the previous one, Senator. When we met yesterday, you pointed your finger at me and said you were speaking. Let me answer my question. I'm not going to be bullied by you, Senator. The 14th Amendment of the United States of America, which was deeply disappointing. I guess you didn't want to hear my answer about Pennsylvania. After I gave an opportunity to study overnight. So can you tell me in this committee what the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment says? Senator, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you. If I am confirmed as Attorney General... You're the one asking for a confirmation vote, ma'am. Cut me off. Can I please finish? What does the 14th Amendment say? Senator, the 14th Amendment, we all know, addresses birthright citizenship. I've been a state prosecutor. I've been a state AG. I look forward to, even given your remarks today, working with you and the people of California if I am confirmed as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America. I didn't take your homework assignment. I'm sorry. I was preparing for today.
Yeah, he came off looking like the jerk in that. Because you ask a question, then you don't let her answer. You talk over her, trying to move on, because apparently the only voice you actually like to listen to is your own. Then you act like you have the right to give her homework assignments and lecture her like a naughty child for not doing them. She didn't need to do them because she already knew what the 14th Amendment said and called you out on it, called you out on your arrogance for acting like she's some serf coming to plead her case before you instead of someone who is being proposed for a job, which is your job to ask questions relating to that job and allow her to answer, not ramble on like a narcissist. She's going to make a great attorney general. These picks overall are great, and I can't wait for the confirmations to continue, and let's get the show on the road. That brings us up to Inauguration Day. Congratulations, people. We actually made it. We survived. Now, the media tries to position a lot of the policies of the incoming administration as extreme, but overall, these propositions are mostly widely supported by the majority of Americans. The New York Times poll shows that 87% of Americans support deporting illegal immigrants who are here illegally and have criminal records. 63%, which is still 2/3 of them, support deporting illegal immigrants regardless who arrived during the last 4 years. 55% of Americans support deporting all illegal immigrants in the United States. And this does not mean that Americans are anti-immigrant, because the poll shows that 56% of Americans say that they believe immigrants strengthen the country. They just don't want illegal immigrants and people who are unwilling to assimilate into what America is. The same poll showed that 59% of Americans believe that the American system has been broken for decades, including 57% of Democrats. An additional 29% believe that it is broken, but it's only been broken for the past few years. CNN reports, in the wake of the 2024 election, supporters of the Democrat Party say that it needs to make significant changes and that they feel burnt out by politics. Their poll shows that Democrats have their lowest ratings in over 30 years. 58% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents feel that the Democrat Party needs major changes or to be completely reformed, and that is up from just 34% in 2022 at the midterm elections. Among Republicans over that same time, the trend is going in the opposite direction, falling from 38% in 2022 to 28% now. Only 49% of Democrats say they expect their party's elected representatives to be even somewhat effective at resisting Republican policies, whereas among Republicans, 9 out of 10 expect their representatives will be at least somewhat effective at passing legislation to enact their agenda. So less than half of Democrats expect their representatives to do anything productive, while 90% of Republicans believe that they will get some sort of productive results. So apparently the Republicans at least feel they have some reason for hope and optimism, whereas the Democrats have literally even lost the village people. I mean, the gay anthem people who put on a full Indian headdress and get up on stage bare-chested and sing Macho Man can't handle the liberals anymore. Oscar de la Renta is bragging about making Melania's dress for Inauguration Day. The tech guys were all on the platform with Trump. It's not us, it's you. Ding dong, the Dems are gone, at least in their current form. On his way out the door, Joe Biden pardoned all the members of his family for crimes that, as far as I know, they didn't commit, and that they certainly haven't been charged with, as well as pardoning his political friends like Anthony Fauci, who is a monster, and who should be in jail for the things he did to people during the AIDS crisis alone, if nothing else, even aside from COVID. Biden also declared that he was unilaterally adding an amendment to the Constitution.
Today, I affirm the Equal Rights Amendments have cleared all the necessary hurdles to be added to the U.S. Constitution now.
Don't have the authority to do that, old man.
The Equal Rights Amendment is the law of the land now.
No, it ain't.
It's the 28th Amendment to the Constitution now.
Only in fantasy land. Just to be clear, this is a stunt. It's illegal, and they know it's meaningless. A constitutional amendment has to be passed by Congress and then ratified by 70% of the 50 states. This amendment was passed by 35 states nearly half a century ago, which isn't enough. 3 states withdrew their ratification, then 3 more ratified it, bringing it back to 35. They never reached 38 states. And the 35 states that have ratified it, that ratification has long expired. There was a 7-year deadline that was set to expire in 1979. That was extended to 1982. So it's been over 40 years since the last deadline passed. This meaningless display is just another example of a radical administration disrespecting the people and the Constitution and the balances of power and general rule of law. So you can declare whatever you want to declare is the law of the land, but you don't decide what the law of the land is, old man. The people do. You will be remembered as a radical tyrant who profoundly betrayed the people who elected him, and you deserve to be remembered that way. You just demonstrated again why we, the people, stripped Democrats of all power on Election Day. Thanks for reminding us that we were right to do so. Prior to Inauguration Day, Trump reiterated his promise to release the JFK files, the RFK files, and the MLK files. Here is what he had to say.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
I am all for this. I think the only way for the government to restore some of the trust that has been lost in its institutions is to become as transparent as possible on all fronts. I think my favorite moment of Inauguration Day actually happened the night before. Elon Musk's little boy followed him up on stage, and it was too adorable. Here is what that sounded like.
Sorry, little X just followed me on the stage here. He's very enthusiastic.
He's jumping. Arm in the air.
So we're looking forward to making a lot of changes, and you know this victory is the start, really.
Little guy wasn't even tall enough to make it into the camera frame at first, jumping up and down, all excited to be up there with Daddy. Too cute. Trump was planning to get down to work right away. He was going to be signing 200 executive orders on the first day. I just want to say, right here, right now, I don't like the way that executive orders have been redefined, starting under Obama's administration, but has continued under both Republican and Democrat administrations. The presidential branch is the executive branch. They are there to enforce the laws. They don't have the right to write them. When Kennedy signed an executive order that sent the National Guard down to Alabama, that was because Congress had already passed the law to desegregate the South, and he was signing an executive order to enforce that law through the National Guard. But under Obama, presidents started trying to use executive orders to write laws, which only the Congress has the right to do. Now, I don't like it when either party does that, but I have to say that since Biden has passed more executive orders during his 4 years in office than any president of my lifetime, it unfortunately is going to take drastic action in order to shut all those bad policies down and clean up the mess so we can reverse course just to get back to the starting gate. One of those executive orders had to do with birthright citizenship. This was what a young couple who seemed like very nice, intelligent people, happy, in love, who had come to the inauguration, clearly part of the sane branch of Gen Z, had to say about birthright citizenship.
Some new friends here. Come on in, guys. Let's meet some of our new friends here at the inauguration. What are y'all's names?
I'm Carly. And I am Blake Wallace.
And where are you guys from?
We are both from Dallas, Texas.
Okay. What made you guys want to come out here from Texas for the inauguration?
I mean, this is just, it's monumental. I mean, I got accosted in New York City just for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. A lady told me to kill myself and a bunch of other things that I won't say on live TV. And it was there that we had 4 mean comments that day, but we had 20 people that stopped. Some people stopped their cars just to say, hey, thanks for the patriotism. Thanks for just smiling and being here and being brave. And it was there that we just looked at each other and we're like, we got to be here in person for this event. I mean, the left preaches tolerance, but the second we exercise free speech is the second they start getting heinously mean. It's just truly hypocritical, and we know that Donald Trump's just quite the opposite of that.
Yeah. What about you, for you being here, especially as a young person? We saw a huge swing this election. I've seen a ton of young people here at the inauguration. Which of the executive orders that are going to be signed today and the plans coming in the future from Trump are you most excited about?
Well, I would definitely say that their end to birthright citizenship is quite an interesting and good thing. I personally think it's a good thing because it ends the incentive structure of having people to just come into America, have kids, and that be their anchor. First of all, it's a degradation of the kids' honor and right to be alive. They're only alive to basically screw over a legal system. That is just something that I cannot agree with. And also, it is a slap in the face to all immigrants who came here legally. And I think that ending this will end a large portion of illegal immigration.
Okay. All right. Final question for you guys. To help us celebrate a bit, can we do the Trump dance? Can I see the Trump dance? Do you got anything? You got it? I'm putting you on the spot. Let's see it. There it is. There it is. That is how we get the party going here in D.C. I'm going to stop before they put me to shame because mine's...
We got that Latin hit.
Mine's not as good, so I'm going to stop. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for talking to us. We're going to keep the party going here.
I completely agree. I mean, birthright citizenship is for people who are here legally. You should not be able to benefit from your crimes. In fact, there are laws that say you can't. If you're here legally and you're pregnant and your child is born here, well, that child was not supposed to be here inside of you any more than you were supposed to be here. So, I'm sorry, but birthright citizenship is for people who are here legally, whether they are citizens, naturalized citizens, or legal immigrants, okay with all of the above. But if you're here illegally, no, you should not be able to use your child as a reason for why you get to stay. And allowing that abuse of the system has only led to problems. It is time to correct this. So I'm sure most of you have seen the media reaction to the inauguration, probably even some social influencers' reactions to the inauguration. But if you want to know just how the average normie in America saw that day, I'm going to play Trump's inaugural speech and just give my reactions to that. And first, I would like to just say to President Biden, I offered Cori Bush some words of encouragement when she was voted out, and you might find them helpful as well. Here they are. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na, Hey, 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 goodbye. Just wrap that up with a bow and consider it a gift from the American people. So here is what Trump had to say.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now.
Sounds good to me.
From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Oh, you mean do your actual job? Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
Return to normalcy.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world. And America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair.
Truth.
We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad.
Yep.
It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly.
Yes, they have.
And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn. From weeks ago, without even a token of defense, they're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly.
It's about time. Just let the era of sanity begin.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
Hell yeah. Start tending to the nuts and bolts again.
Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
That's receiving a standing ovation.
Thank you very much. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
Certainly feels that way in the air. And I say that as a moderate who's not a Trump fan.
Our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural. And very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states. And the popular vote, we won by millions of people.
All of which are obviously racist.
To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
This is receiving another standing ovation, as it should. We are a country where it doesn't matter what your skin color is, just the content of your character and your determination to work hard. That's what gives you the American dream here.
National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution. And we will not forget our God. Can't do that.
We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
Yes, it is.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Yes. Why has that not been done 4 years ago? Another standing ovation. Insanity. What has been going on? Pure insanity.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy.
Yes. You do not come in.
The practice of catch and release.
You can come in after you've been vetted.
Send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
Yeah, because our border patrol needs help. They are seriously undermanned.
Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
Entirely appropriate. They've killed over 250,000 Americans just through fentanyl alone. Scum of the earth. Traffickers of human beings.
By invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities.
Start with Aurora, Colorado.
As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices.
About time. Make America affordable again.
The crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Common sense returns.
America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world.
Let's get this economy going.
We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
Yes, yes, yes. Enough of this doomsday stuff. Being in control. Hard science only.
In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice.
Right.
We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote.
You're supposed to have choice in a free market of what you want to buy.
Begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Stop preying on your own people.
Purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
Hell yes. My favorite governmental department. Get it done, Elon. Unleash that man. We like him.
After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
The foundation of who we are. You don't get to control the words coming out of my mouth.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents.
Good.
Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law.
It's the way it's supposed to be. Terrible abuses of power. Our justice system is not your toy, politicians.
And order back to our cities.
Well, that sounds pretty good, too.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life.
Good, we're sick of it. Sick of the preaching. Do your actual job. You're not evangelists.
Forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Duh. Gonna have to pass a bill saying 1 + 1 is 2. Can we please return to reality now? Stop playing games.
This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay.
Yes. I have the right to choose what medications I will put into my body, and our service members have that same right. They should never have been fired and treated that way, ever.
And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately.
Yes. Their focus is on their job.
Our armed forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies.
Everybody needs to put their eye back on the ball. Each department needs to do its job. Enough of the silliness. The kind of silliness that only a bunch of privileged people have time for.
In 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
Yes. Strength through deterrence. It works, baby. Worst thing you can do is bluff. As Biden proved repeatedly with Hamas.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
Last time he was the first president in a long time that didn't start any new wars. So, sounds good to me. And yeah, I want every single one of those hostages brought back, or I want hellfire to rain down on Hamas. I hope I'm being clear.
America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.
Yeah, I'm tired of all this renaming stuff. Turn them back to their original names. Fort Braggs.
President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken.
Yeah.
The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Yeah. We built it. Our blood, our sweat, our tears, our dollars. You betrayed the gift, we're taking it back. The end. No discussion.
Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free.
Yes.
The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Yes. Once again, get it done, Elon. I wasn't there for the moon. I want to be there for this. There he is. Looking pretty excited about it.
Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation.
Yes.
And right now our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts.
Yeah.
The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls.
Yeah.
Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth.
Mm-hmm.
No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers,
yes,
won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny,
yep,
lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do, and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken.
Americans love to do the impossible. And our day is not done yet, baby. The sun has not set on America. It's not even noon yet, baby.
I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best.
Yeah. Yes. And we want to embrace that identity again.
From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced.
Yes, they did.
After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history.
I hope so.
With your help, we will restore America, promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much.
Yes, we do.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We're going to win like never before.
Good. Tired of being held back by my own government, shamed, pushed down, discouraged. No more. You work for us, not the other way around. This is the direction we're heading. Get on board or go away.
In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable.
I hope so.
America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all.
I like the sound of that. Like the sound of that. Good way to begin a new administration. There will hopefully be a new era. On your mark, get set, go. Get it done. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like and follow because that helps make these things successful. And I hope you come back next week. Until then, as always, have a good week, my friends.